Hello again. It's me, Midnight Shadows, and today let's explore a strange experience that has haunted me since childhood. This story begins many years ago when my brother and I were just 10 years old, taking swimming lessons at a public pool about 10 minutes from home. We would go there every Friday evening, and after our lessons, we usually relaxed in the spa pool until our dad came to pick us up. But on one particular Friday night, everything changed. While we were playing, I suddenly noticed a man sitting directly across from the spa, his gaze seemingly fixated on me. He was very tall and thin, and his look sent a chill down my spine. Pointed nose and button-like eyes, he had very short, thin gray hair, and his skin was unusually red. I didn't think much of this at the time, as I had seen this man around the pool before. I also think my dad may have had a conversation with him at one point. Nevertheless, his stare was off-putting, and it made me feel so uncomfortable that I had to get out of the spa and sit outside, waiting for my dad. After that, I began seeing him everywhere. Wherever I was, he was there. The grocery store, the mall, outside of my school, and always at my Friday night swimming lessons. I never told my dad about seeing him. I thought maybe I was overreacting and was very naive to the obvious danger. I remember one instance where I was in a department store with my mom and saw him standing at the end of every aisle we went down. Red flags started going off when I saw him carrying a camera around with him. He would always be dressed in a completely black outfit with his camera bag around his neck. One day, I was at the mall with a couple of my friends when one of them pointed him out before I had even noticed him. I told them about what was happening and the way he would always look at me. My friend's older sister advised me to tell security so that he could be removed. I did just that, and as soon as he saw them coming, he got up and left. Fast forward about 2 years or so. I hadn't seen my stalker friend for a long time now, and it was becoming a distant memory at this point until I got called into the school office because my uncle was here to come pick me up early. I was confused, but I thought this was a last-minute kind of thing. As I was approaching the office, I saw him there, arms open, waiting for me. I felt sick. I had forgotten all about this man, and 2 years later, he had the nerve to come and try to get me out of school. I marched right past him and directly to the receptionist and simply said, "This man is not my uncle." I then walked back to class. My school would sometimes have lunch outside, and whenever we did, I would see him standing somewhere nearby. He would wave at me and try to beckon me over, holding up a chocolate bar as some kind of bait. So these random appearances at my school continued to the point where my school had to contact my parents and let them know about the situation. My dad was very distraught and demanded the police be contacted so that we could get a restraining order. That's when we found out something truly sickening about this man. It turns out he was a convicted sex offender. The police took his camera and found hundreds and hundreds of photos of me, some of which were zoomed into my bedroom windows. He was arrested, and we got the restraining order against him, and thankfully, I haven't seen him since. This happened about 12 years ago. I'm a former football player, and I'm a pretty big guy. I was in my late 20s at the time, and I lived in a nice neighborhood in Arizona. Needless to say, I didn't have much to worry about at night. I had 2 roommates living with me at the time, so there always seemed to be someone home with me at night. I got home from a late business trip around midnight, came into the house exhausted, and dropped everything, going straight to bed. I'm a heavy sleeper, so it takes something pretty loud to wake me up. Around 3 a.m., I hear a loud knocking on my door. It sounded like someone was trying to kick my door down. I had never heard anything like it before, though it was a Saturday, so I figured my roommates had gone out to the bars and forgotten their keys. Begrudgingly, I stumbled out of bed, walked down the hallway in the dark, and noticed that all the bedroom doors were open and no roommates to be found. Ah, must be them. They're messing with me. I arrived at my front door and looked through the peephole, seeing a young woman standing on the other side. She appeared to be homeless, but was actually kind of cute. She had a really baggy sweatshirt on with jeans and a beanie. Might I remind you that this is Arizona in the dead of summer? It had to be at least 95 degrees at this time, so her attire was odd. She was acting frantic, almost like she was being chased. I was going to open the door to make sure she was okay, but then she started laughing. It was a very disturbing kind of laugh, which stopped me dead in my tracks. I have to pee. Please let me in. I just stood behind the door in silence, watching her through the peephole. I wasn't scared at this moment, just annoyed and about to yell at her to get the hell out of here. Then all of a sudden, she just turns around and skips down my driveway like a child. I just thought to myself, this girl is whacked out on drugs or something. I go back to bed, and 30 minutes later, I was just about to fall back asleep when the knocking starts again. Now I'm furious, about to get up and run back to my front door to give this woman a piece of my mind. But this time, when I looked through the peephole, it was a man. He was dressed in practically the same outfit the woman had been wearing. He was scrawny-looking, not physically intimidating by any means, but he just looked whacked out like she did. I then see the girl behind the man, jumping up and down and laughing. The guy gets right up to the peephole. Yo, you better let us in. My girl has to pee. I'm a bit freaked out now. I've seen a lot of situations like this in horror films, so I just back away from the door, go to the kitchen, and grab a knife. Then I go back to my room and hide in my closet. I figured if they were going to break in, at least they wouldn't see me at first in the closet and I could launch a counterattack. 2 hours pass, and there's no more noise, and I fall asleep in my closet with the knife in my hand. It was then that I heard a tapping on my bedroom window. My bedroom is on the first floor and is accessible from the backyard. The lights are off, so I creep over to the window and slowly push aside one of the blinds. There was the woman peering into my bedroom but not looking directly at me, and she was just subtly tapping the window. Off in the distance, I see the guy, but ass naked, doing cannonballs in my pool. I instinctively start yelling, "Hey, get the hell out of my pool." This brings the girl's attention straight to me. We made eye contact and were inches away from each other. She had the scariest smile I've ever seen, and then she starts giggling. That freaked me the hell out. I call the cops right away and tell them some crazy, drugged-up wackos are in my backyard and that I'm in fear for my life. I went into my bathroom and locked the door, just waiting for the "here's Johnny" moment. The dispatcher calls back and informs me that the cops were there, but no one was outside the house. They must have taken off down the alley when they saw the cops approaching. The next day, I see the neighborhood watch flyers all over, informing us that over the past 3 nights, 6 homes have been broken into, 4 dogs have been brutally attacked, and to keep an eye out for any strange people in the neighborhood. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up straight, but thankfully I never saw or heard from those wackos since. Since that night, I've installed an alarm system, bought a handgun, and now I sleep great. But the look on that woman's face still haunts my dreams. So this happened quite a few years ago. I was probably 12 or 13 at the time, and I was staying at a hotel with my parents along with my aunt, uncle, and cousin, who was a year older than me. One night, our parents decided to go get coffee together at a cafe in the lobby of the hotel. Now, it's important to note that it's one of those hotels that span across several buildings. The cafe my parents went to was several buildings away from the one that we were staying in. But that wasn't a problem for my cousin and me, seeing as the pool was just downstairs. At around 8 o'clock, we texted our parents, put on our bathing suits, and went downstairs to the pool. Things were fine at first. We swam around, and my cousin and I caught up on things that had happened in our schools, the relationships we had been in, etc. Eventually, we ended up just quietly floating on our backs, watching the stars. Without even looking over at my cousin, I said something to the effect of, "Wow, it's really nice out, huh?" I said it in a kind of weird voice, hoping I would get a laugh out of her. That's when I heard a guy chuckle. I sat up in the water really fast, my face quickly growing red. I didn't realize that I had floated away from my cousin and was now next to some random guy. He was probably in his early 20s, and he offered me a creepy smile. At 13, I was very shy, so I gave a nervous laugh and hightailed it back over to my cousin, who promptly burst into laughter and started making fun of me, jokingly demanding to know if he was cute and if he had really laughed at the dumb voice I made. I was too embarrassed to find the situation funny and stayed really close to her, not daring to glance back down to the other side of the pool where he was now sitting on the edge. My cousin, whose name is Lizzie, just moved on, chatting about random things as we waited in the pool. She got progressively quieter, though, eventually playfully splashing me to get my attention. "Your new boyfriend is still watching us," she noted. And even though she was still grinning, there was something uneasy in her voice. I glanced over, and sure enough, he was still sitting on the edge of the pool, watching us. She splashed me again. "Don't pay him any attention. You may not know much about guys, but I do, and the trick is to just ignore them." She wasn't exactly wrong. I was homeschooled, and I never really talked to guys who were older than me. In my eyes, she was an expert in the subject, full of worldly wisdom. I watched her face, mimicking her. "Maybe we should call one of our moms?" I said as she shook her head. "No, let's just go back to the hotel room. I don't want to freak my mom out." That seemed like a good idea to both of us. Her mom was kind of terrifying when she was mad. "We can text her when we get up there." I nodded, moving and pushing myself out of the pool, grabbing our towels and shoes. She made some joke about what was going on, but I didn't hear it. The guy was now standing up, though. He seemed to be pretty casual about getting his own things. When I looked back at her, her expression confirmed that she had seen it, but she just kept putting on her shoes, and I followed suit, walking close behind her. We approached the stairs and began to ascend them. Both of us were a bit nervous, but still holding out hope that this was just a coincidence until we heard footsteps behind us. A brief glance revealed the guy was just a flight behind us, meeting my gaze with a creepy grin. He didn't seem drunk or high, at least from my sheltered perspective. "Lizzie," I said quietly, trying to alert her that he was close. "I know. Let's go to the wrong floor. We can loop back around and just go to our rooms, and then we'll call my mom from there." She was moving up the stairs much faster now. I could see the look of anxiety on her face. As an avid reader of mystery novels, it seemed like the best possible choice. So we got off 2 floors early, speed walking down the hallway. Just around the corner when we didn't see Lizzie holding my hand almost jerked me off from my feet before I had ever officially been afraid of something in my life, but fear was contagious. We heard footsteps behind us on the same floor we chose to walk around. I clasped her hand in pace with her. We whipped round the next corner, and then next until we found the stairs again to take them back to our floor. A high-pitched scream escaped from Lizzie, who at this point dragged me along with me. I was afraid of getting out of my intelligence. In fact, numbness went up the stairs then down our hall. She got stuck with the key to our room door and pushed me inside right away. Close the blinds right after we closed the door. She burst into tears immediately. She cried for adrenaline more than anything, but after she calmed down, she didn't waste her time trying to call her mom, who didn't pick up the phone. Then we tried. I tried. My mom didn't answer the phone, or it felt like we'd been sitting in bed for hours, and shaking since we were wearing a wet bathing suit, and we finally wore it calmly. Although we gave each other an excuse about what happened, maybe he didn't try to follow us. Maybe we just chose to get off this guy's floor when you were scared. It's actually pretty easy to believe that everything was just a big coincidence once we were completely calm. It seemed like a brilliant idea at the time since we both believed that everything was just a coincidence. It's a big misunderstanding and we're both hungry right now. She wrapped it in a towel and took her mother's keys and her cell phone, and we came up with a plan at the hotel door just to be safe if we saw the cow pool again. We would lock ourselves in the car, and we would start calling all the numbers that we could think of, and if he showed up when he did. To turn up, we were walking back, and we made a break straight to the lobby and found our parents. It seemed pretty stupid at a time when we looked back. This was the kind of stupid plan that you saw in the horror movie. Nothing happened until we got to the parking lot in front of our building. Then we heard a voice calling. "What do you think you're going to do from down the hall?" We looked back and found the ox pool standing at the end of the corridor. Lizzie said something extraordinary. In the end, that man disappeared and was never seen by us again. I had to speak to the police a little bit to describe him and what he did at the arcade during the walk home. Sadly, my dad did not catch the license plate, but they did have information on what kind of car he was driving. Still, I don't think they ever found that guy. He was clearly sick in the head. Our parents forbade us from returning to that arcade, and the owner was alerted about the strange man. That's it for the video. What do you think about this story? Don't hesitate to share your theories in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I am Midnight Shadows, and for now, goodbye and see you next time.